Well, everyone, we're here with UFC Lightweight Austin Hubbard, and yeah, man, what are you up? What you been up to?
Man, just trying to get ready for my fight, and that's about it.
Yeah, so
Playing a lot of video games, I guess.
I'm sorry.
I said playing a lot of video games, I guess. Besides that, trying not to eat.
Yeah, well, you got to make that weight, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the new UFC 4 game?
I honestly haven't played it yet, so
Right.
it looks cool, but I haven't played it yet, so I'm not sure what the game plays like or anything like that.
So, did you hear anything about being added into the game as a fighter, or?
No, I haven't. I'm not sure how long that takes. I mean, I think you gotta be ranked at least to be in it. But even some of the ranked opponents aren't even in it, so I'm not sure how they do that, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw some videos on YouTube about it, and it wasn't like I wasn't overly impressed.
Yeah,
Um, like I get it. Like I know they're gonna put a lot of like fighters that aren't even in the promotion anymore. I get it. Like, 'cause they're legends and
yeah,
they're definitely guys that are female male fighters who definitely been in the sport and have really made an impact. But I
yeah,
mean, like there's a lot of fighters that aren't even ranked that are really known fighters, and it's unfortunate that for as far as I've seen so far from the beta,
yeah,
they're not even in the game, which really sucks.
yeah. I don't know how they decide how that goes. I feel like if you're on the roster, you should at least uh, get in there, or maybe even after your X amount of fights in the UFC, you should get in there. But I don't know. I'm sure
Yeah,
they'll figure out something.
yeah, I know it's kind of sucky. Like the idea that I kind of got from it is they basically what it looked like. What they did was they just transferred all the fighters from the last game and just plopped them on there. And in the last 2.5 years, it's been like, well, we're just not gonna work very hard, so we're just gonna import all the fighters from the UFC 3 and just shoot them on there and say slap it and say that's $79.99 for a game. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, just kind of get away from the video games now. Just to focus on you. I do want to talk about your upcoming fight, but I will get back to that. So you're currently still with Elevation Fight Team.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're with like Blades and all those
Yep.
fighters, right?
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, so I mean, how do you feel training at that gym?
Oh man, I love it. I moved out here, it was a little over 4 years ago. Um, I was gonna originally go to Rufus Sport because I was training in Illinois. That's where I was born and raised, and
Hmm.
I was training at Militich Fighting Systems, and then kind of traveling here and there, and then our local gym in Sterling, Illinois, and like I knew once I went pro that I needed to get to like a bigger, higher level type of gym. So I was gonna move to um, Wisconsin up in to go to Rufus Sport, and I had a buddy up there, and it's a great team. I was going there, cross training here and there, and I just so happened to come out to Elevation Fight Team for a week, and I ended up loving it so much. I got home on a Sunday, went to work on a Monday, put in for a transfer, not really thinking I was going to get it. And they called me the next day and was like, "Hey, you got that transfer. When can you move?" And I was like, "Well, when do you need to know by?" Like, we need an answer by tomorrow. So, I was fortunate enough to find a place to stay right away, and moved right on out here and been here ever since. And it's by far been the best decision of my life. We have such a high level coaching
Hmm.
and training here, and it's definitely been great for my career. That's for sure.
Yeah, and being Elevation being such a high level gym, so how does the process of moving to a gym or joining a gym? Do you just come in and say I want to join? How does that work out?
For here, yeah, like you kind of need to like talk to the coaches first and like kind of It's not exactly a tryout, but kind of a tryout. You come train for a week, see if you're a good fit for the team or not. And if they think you are, then they'll invite you to join and come out here. So that's what happened with me. I One of my friends I trained with at Miltis Fighting System knew like one of the fighters here, and we're good friends and helped each other with fight camps and stuff. So that's how I got like hooked up with coming out here, and was through them. And yeah.
And while training there, is there anyone that you train with personally
Oh, I mean, I
or
do.
more frequently?
Yeah, I do a lot of rounds. With Justin Gaethje, Neil Magny, Drew Dober. I mean, there's a wide variety of great fighters out here that I get to train with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of interesting that you do train with Gaethje. I mean, him being going for the belt in a month or two. Do
Yeah.
you ever do you think ever down the road that you get to that belt, you might have to change gyms or
Oh
like
no. I mean, he'll have the belt, and by the time I get there, it'll be a while. I'm sure we wouldn't ever have to come across each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I certainly I do hope he does get the belt. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you and you guys are training together. But seriously, as much as I like Khabib, I think he could pull it off.
Yeah.
And he's got the wrestling to work with it. But I don't really know. I mean, I've said it multiple times with different fighters, like, oh, this is the guy that's gonna be Khabib. He's got to figure him out, and then they just get manhandled. Like
Yeah.
you just watch Khabib how he just I don't know. He's just too damn good. So,
He's
um,
impressive how he controls you on the ground. That's for sure.
yeah, it's just the way he wraps the legs, and once he wraps those legs, it's game over. It's insane. I just
Yeah.
um, and what do you think about that guy? What's his name? He's that kind of new guy. He just kind of came in and fought like twice in like 2 weeks or something.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. That 170, and he fought at middleweight also. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not familiar how to say his name, but I know who you're talking about. I mean, he's an impressive ground specialist as well. He's very similar to how Khabib fights, with
Hmm.
like really overwhelming ground and pound style.
Yeah. I don't know if I think he needs to fight some guys. Maybe some guys in the top 15 to kind of show where he stands.
Yeah.
I think he definitely has to kind of get a little bit of experience to really know what happens, because you see a lot
Yeah.
of guys that come in who get really good finishes, and then they come in and they experience takes over.
Yeah.
You know it, it's it's hard to say, but
Yeah. Time will tell.
yeah, we'll definitely see what's real and what's not for sure. Um, yeah, so I guess now that I kind of just talked about your the team that you're with, so I guess I want to start from the beginning. What made you get into MMA in the first place?
I started training basically because I was bored. I grew up doing a bunch of different sports. When I was in high school, I wrestled, played football, and then when I went to college, the sports that I participated in, they didn't have. So I was done with sports, at that point in my life for like the first time ever. And I just got really bored and wanted just to, I got into MMA to, stay in shape, compete a little bit. Just boredom, I wanted something to do just while I was in college. And, so I started training, and then stuck with it. Now I'm here.
Well, I mean, I do read that you were doing like criminal justice. So I mean, you go
Yeah.
from criminal justice to punching guys in the face.
Yeah.
So did you happen to finish that, or whatever
Yeah,
happened there?
I mean, I got an associate's degree in criminal justice.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like I said, when I started college is kind of when I started MMA. Right after high school. or roughly after high school. I guess I was like 20 when I first started training. But yeah, just how it happened. It worked out. Just boredom.
Right. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, now
Yeah.
that you went from boredom to now you're making money to punch people in the face. So
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely loved it. As soon as I started training and fighting, man, I felt instantly love. There's no other sport like MMA. It tests you in so many different areas, and it's hard to perfect this. Just because there's so many factors into it, and um, it's just a constant work in progress, and just teaches you a lot of very good life, you know, uh, life experience type of things.
I agree. I agree, and I think that's one thing. One thing that I always learned growing up when I was doing karate. I got my black belt in Shotokan, kind of like Machida style,
Oh, okay.
and one thing that we were always taught is, it's not just you learn to defend yourself because it's more a defense style, right?
Yeah.
You're not just learning self-defense. It's learning respect, and
Yeah.
that's in any kind of fighting form, whether BJJ, boxing, whatever you're pursuing. It's all about respect and um, I guess determination and proving to yourself what you're capable of doing and pushing yourself. And I think and that's kind of bringing back to what you're saying about MMA. There's nothing like it. There's nothing that pushes you, and
Yeah.
it's a real test to how far you're willing to go to pursue what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I guess let's kind of get into your debut into the UFC. Didn't kind of go your way,
Yeah.
but then you did pull off a win on the next fight with Kyle Prepperlek. I had
Yeah.
an interview with him. I had an interview with him like maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, and actually I think when I was talking to him, he was preparing for this fight with you. So it's kind of interesting now I'm talking with you here.
Yeah.
So I mean, you pulled off the win, but man, with the leg, like, so whatever happened there?
I got compartment syndrome, which was like the craziest thing ever because I didn't even get kicked in my leg all that much. And like I've had fights where I've been kicked in the leg like 10 times more than that fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, and it was in my thigh, so that's even more crazy. And not
Yeah.
like lower leg because it's smaller and more prone to in the lower leg than the thigh. And yeah, I got compartment syndrome. I have a scar from like my knee to my hip pretty much where
Oof.
I was in the hospital all the week after the fight. I had 3 surgeries to get all the pressure and everything out of my leg because when I actually first went into surgery that night, the doctor said that my leg, like the muscles were already turning like gray and non-responsive and things like that. So it's good that I had the surgery and went that night because if I didn't, I was just going to go to the hotel and go to bed because I'm like, I don't need to go doctors, just a few leg kicks. Like that's never good,
Yeah.
I always a sore. But when I was going up to my room, I passed out in the elevator, and then I had to was forced to go to the hospital, and
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when figured out what was going on and all that.
So, like, what is it exactly that they do? So they had to cut into your leg, and what do? They fix all the muscles around? Like, what is it that
No,
they?
they cut it open, so and then they put a wound vac on it, which is like just a sponge in your leg
Okay.
that is like sucking out all the like blood and all that stuff that gets for inflammation and stuff, and it'll relieve all the pressure and take some swelling out of your leg and stuff. So my leg was like cut open with this wound vac for a week on it, and
Right.
basically the machine is just sucking out blood and all that, and uh, you just got keep emptying it out, and yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah, and now that you've had that injury, how does that like does that ever affect you when you're in a fight? Are you worried that's
No,
gonna happen again?
no, not at all. I mean, it has. I was completely fully back to train 2 months after the last surgery. So it
Okay.
healed up pretty quick, and I haven't had any issues with it, no pain or anything. And the doctor basically said it's like impossible for it to happen again because the fascia's already been cut and everything. So like it can't get trapped in there, something along those lines. Um, so I mean, even so, like that's like I think I was the very first case in UFC history actually to have
Yeah.
that surgery, and it's super rare, I guess. So I don't know. I guess I'm just unlucky. I was unlucky that night with that situation, and it was just like I said, kind of a freak thing that happened.
Hmm. It's like I find it's unfortunate when there's some people that win a fight, but then there's something that you kind of lose from your win. I guess if that
Yeah,
makes any sense. It's a little bittersweet. You win your fight and great, but
yeah,
then it's like, well, now I have to go to the hospital. You know,
yeah,
I don't know, but and then so to kind of move on here. So your last fight with Max, you got your TKO. Him kind of quitting in between those rounds there. So did you kind of see him? Did you see finishing him in the third round?
yeah. I was pretty confident that I was gonna finish that fight, especially in that third round. After with every takedown that he got, and I was able to scramble right back up to my feet, or every deep submission attempt he had that I defended and got back to my feet, I could tell that was just like I could see it in his eyes that I was just kind of breaking him. Um, and then obviously I was doing well on my feet and kind of tagging him up. So I could definitely see I was breaking him. So I was definitely coming out in that third round for a finish. And he kind of took it into his own hands and ended it himself. So
Yeah, I saw that fight and like I felt bad for him, but my thoughts on is like if you're not if your heart's not in it, if you don't think that you can fight, you should. Um,
yeah,
and what's your thoughts on that?
yeah. I mean, only he knows, how he was feeling, and
Hmm.
this isn't a easy sport that we do. It's not like football or like baseball or basketball where you're just gonna lose. I mean, this is like you're risking serious, bodily injuries and stuff like that to do this sport.
Hmm.
And if you're beat and you can't win the fight, then I thought it was smart of him to then take it into his own hands, knowing that within himself he knew he wasn't going to win. Then why take the extra damage? You know what I mean? Going to be
Yeah.
the same result, so might as well save yourself some head trauma. You be able to bounce back faster. Taking less damage, extend your career. So I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah, and I don't blame me either. It's unfortunate, how that happens to some people. I mean, you
Yeah.
only know yourself so well. But you watch a lot of other fighters and their longevity it runs out because it's the pride, I guess, and going into fight. Like some people don't know when to take too much damage. I mean,
Yeah.
example with your teammate him and Ferguson. I mean, as much as Ferguson's a beast, I just think in that fight, as much damage he was taking. I mean, Gaethje, we both know it hits hard, like
Yeah.
hits like a truck. And as much as Ferguson's a beast and he's just wild and he hits like it's nothing. I think in that fourth round, even then, I think that fight should have been called off.
Yeah.
On his part, I mean, I get it. You don't want to lose a fight. And I know Ferguson, he never would because that's just his mentality.
Yeah.
But like I think fighters need to, and corners too.
Yeah.
You have to get to a point where we need to be protecting fighters a lot more because like okay, say you've had so many fights in your career, but these guys want to keep fighting. I think there needs to be a little bit more protection.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and even a really good example was the fight with Max Holloway and I'm trying to think of his name, Brian Ortega. I mean, that guy got demolished by the fourth round. I mean, you can see there's nothing left.
Yeah.
And I know in boxing, like sometimes you don't necessarily have to even be TKO. It's just you can't take the hits, you can't fight back anymore. You just don't.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there, and they stop the fight because they know they can see the fighter. The fighter's not fighting back. Um, So I don't know, like, what's your thoughts on that? Should they be implementing that more?
It's kind of hard situation because 9 times out of 10, and if you ask the fighter, they're going to continue.
Yeah.
I if you start being a little more touchy on stopping fights, then you run into the risk of like people complaining about like unjust decisions and stoppages. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, how do you protect the fighter but like let them fight and keep the I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, like, talking about decisions, I mean, what's been your thoughts on like all on the calls lately? Like I mean, right from when everything started after the COVID, I mean, Jacksonville cards, in my opinion, as a fan, it was the judging was disgusting. And then like some of the other previous cards lately, just the judging's
Yeah.
just not been right. Like, do you think that I think it was who was it? It was some fighter. He said that that the judging they should have like former fighters or current
Yeah.
fighters be judges.
I 100% agree. Like
Hmm.
how you gonna have people judge a sport that they never even trained in, not let alone compete? You know what I mean? Well, a lot of times, they've never competed. Um, so it makes sense to make a judge like someone who truly understands the sport. They've trained it, they've competed in it, whether it be at a higher or lower level, like some sort of experience of like in the MMA sport specifically, not just jiu-jitsu, not just boxing, not just that, like wrestling, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
sport specific, which is MMA. Like, of course, it's everything blended into one, but MMA is like, as a whole, is different than, like, MMA wrestling is different than regular wrestling. Jiu-jitsu
absolutely.
is different than MMA jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Obviously, they're very similar and like, sort of, in how uh, your tactics and whatnot, but like it is overall different. Um,
I agree.
so I think definitely getting some judges in there that have competed in MMA specific and trained it and know it, would definitely be better off for as the judges.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. And I think as the sport in general is going in the right direction. With the commentary, like you're getting a lot more current or former fighters commentate, which is good.
Yeah,
And I mean, I think it's pretty appropriate. I mean, and they should, because they know what they're talking about, and then when they're watching the fight, they know exactly what's going to happen and what the fighter's going to do. I mean, the best of all is like you got DC, and I mean, he knows everything that's going to happen when it happens.
yeah,
Um, and when you got fighters that have very good fight IQ, it's good to have them on the commentary, because it's nice to know, like, because me, like, I train, so it's nice to kind of know, like, yep, like I know I can see it, or like,
yeah,
or you get some, but then the problem is you get some issues where you might have former fighters like Dan Hardy who got into it with Herb Dean. I mean,
yeah,
you kind of have to have your limits, right? Like,
yeah,
like it's a job, right? Like, yeah, you're commentating, it's fun, it's exciting, but you have to realize, like, you have to have that resilience too. Like,
yeah, for sure.
but kind of going off topic here, but so you're LFA champ. Um, so I guess with that experience, you're obviously I'm assuming you're going for the gold. I mean, I think
Yeah,
anybody would be.
yeah.
um, so having that experience and having that confidence, do you bring that into the UFC and have that confidence that you can capture another belt in another organization?
Yeah, I mean, it always helps having that
Hmm.
title type of championship rounds and stuff experience. Obviously, it's majorly different, a UFC title compared to the other titles that I've held. Um, but it's still experience because like before I got into the UFC, I had 4 different regional level belts, all different
Hmm.
promotions. I each I had them in all different states as well, so it wasn't like just all one hometown area. So that's and I had 6 title fights come before I came into the UFC. So
Yeah.
Obviously the levels is definitely different, but it's still experience in that 5 round pace and experience, that almost because up until I made it to UFC, I actually had more, or about even of title fights as to regular fights.
Right.
Like, and so like when I first would like three fights, like it took me a minute to like really adjust to this 3 round pace, just because I was so used to that 5 round pace. And that was like one of the hardest things getting into the UFC that I've
Yeah.
had to adjust to and like break my habit up, because that's not a good habit when you only have
Yep.
three rounds to fight. It's definitely a different type of pace. So, but I feel like I got that figured out, in working towards the right direction. So, uh, by the time I got the 3 round perfected, I'll probably end up getting a few 5 rounders maybe, and then I'll have to make the adjustment back. But until then, definitely
Well,
need to keep focusing on that.
right. Yeah, and that's usually typically when you're talking to fighters, it's more I gotta adjust and I gotta learn to go with the 5 rounds, not the 3 rounds of just
Yeah,
throwing everything but the kitchen sink, right? So,
yeah.
like it's yeah, like that definitely would be an adjustment for sure. Um, yeah, so like when you talk about adjusting for 5 rounds, how do you like is it more do you like when you said that you adjust from going 5 rounds to 3 rounds, do you mean like is it more do you have to learn to just more throw more power? What is it that you mean by that?
Just like your activity in those rounds and how you're attacking in those rounds, and
Right.
your like energy output and things like that. Um, the biggest thing is just your pace, like,
Mm-hmm.
attacking and things like that. Because obviously in a 5 round fight, that's way more time than the 3 round fight. So in the 3 round fight, you can't let it like rounds slip because they matter more. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
uh, like before the first round is in a 5 round fight, is can almost be entirely like a fill out round. Kind of set the pace for the next couple rounds,
Yeah.
and then go from there. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely a different thing.
Well, and definitely in a 3 round, yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, first round can determine like whether you're gonna win or lose. I mean, because I mean, you could win the second round and the guy comes back in the third round. So yeah, I mean, in 3 round fight, you kind of have to give it what you got, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so obviously the fight with Joe, an upcoming fight, been rescheduled again,
Yeah,
unfortunately. But now you're, hopefully, finally, you're gonna get that fight with Joe.
yeah,
So I don't want to say, do you think you're gonna win or lose? Obviously, you know you're gonna win. But
yeah.
how do you see the fight happening?
Honestly, I kind of feel like it's gonna be similar to how the fight with Max went. I think he's gonna be looking to get it to the ground, and I'm gonna defend and or scramble out and pick him apart on the feet.
Okay. And I guess with that being said, do you like I would never want to ask anybody to overlook any fighters, but let's say, if you do win the fight, is there anyone that you like to fight next? Are you looking into the top 15? How are you feeling?
I've never been one to like call someone out or anything like
Hmm.
that. I've always just took any fight that was offered to me, and to me, like, my job is to fight. I'm not a matchmaker. I'll fight whoever the fans want. I'll fight whoever the promoter wants. It doesn't matter to me. I'll say yes, and I'll fight whoever. So that's always been my take on it.
And
So I don't have anyone I'm looking like. I'm definitely obviously goals, to be within the top 15 and
right.
this amount of time, and then once you get that, readjust in top 10, top 5, champ type of thing. But um my goal for like within by the time I turn 30 is to be in the top 15 for sure, and then from there just keep working up.
Okay. So like I guess more realistically, by the end of the year, where do you see yourself? Are you looking for another fight before the end of the year?
Yeah, definitely. I've been very fortunate in this year. I got a new
Mhm.
contract my last fight, and then I fought 2 times already this year. This is going to be a
Yeah.
third, which will be the second on my 4-fight contract, and then that still leaves plenty of time to get a fourth in for the year and third on this current contract, which usually you renegotiate after 3. So I feel
Right.
like I definitely want to get at least one if things go really well and I'm able to get a quick turnaround and fight in October and then again in December, then that'd be cool too. I like staying active and
Yeah.
uh, getting after it. So, I mean, definitely goal is at least one more. So,
Right. Yeah, well, because I saw, I was looking through the UFC news alerts. I know it's a huge like news, like MMA news Instagram page, but I saw one of the fans on it was a post with you and Joe with your announcement, and someone writes in, "Oh, damn Hubbard, he's like, oh, damn Hubbard is active this
yeah.
year," and I like seeing the fan base. Like, how do you react with that?
That is cool. I actually seen that too, and I like read some of the comments, and it's cool that now I'm going on to my this is my 5th fight in the UFC,
Yeah,
and it's crazy. I feel like I had my debut just yesterday, and
yeah,
obviously coming into UFC brand new, you're usually relatively highly unknown, and it's kind of cool seeing like with each fight and stuff, the fan base and my name growing a little bit more and it's motivating. I want to keep getting that and, gaining fans and have people say my fights are exciting and they want to watch me and things like
hmm
that. That's very satisfying to me, to get that type of acknowledgement for your hard work and, motivates you to keep going and putting on.
Well, the hard work pays off, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And I guess with the social media, have people that love you, and you're gonna have haters. When you get like, if you ever do get hate comments, does that ever get into your head, or is that just you just kind of block it out, or?
Nah, it don't matter to me. I mean, the most of the time the keyboard warriors that are hating don't even train or anything like that and like they're so tough behind typing it up, but if they seen you in person they probably ask you for an autograph or picture or something 9 times
Exactly.
out of 10. So I you can't really take that to heart. It's at the end of the day it's just random people you don't even know and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I just usually laugh at it.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. I don't know if you ever saw the post. It was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it was with Paul Felder
Yeah,
and this fan, yeah, and the
yeah.
fan's like, oh, blah blah blah, you're just good as a commentator, and he's like, oh yeah, have you come on over here and we'll fight? And
Yeah,
he's like, oh no, I'm not. He's like, well no, he's like, you probably kicked my ass. He's like, yeah, fair enough.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
so
like that's the thing is like these people who are keyboard warriors, like they you get beat up, like you you wouldn't even stand a chance. So maybe take a step back on your harsh critic if you can't even do it yourself. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember there was this guy from where I live. I think he's from I'm from Chatham, Ontario, and I thought he was from Chatham, but he might not be. But I remember he had some post, and someone went on and said like something about him not being very good, and he's like, really? He's like, have you ever fought an MMA fighter like on
Yeah,
the street? And the guy's like, no. He's like, do you know what it's like to take a nap on the concrete? He's like, no. He's like, come on over here. You'll find out. He's like,
yeah.
no, I'm good, bro. And he's like, so, so I don't know. I don't know if I was an MMA fighter, I wouldn't want to be that harsh with fans just because I mean, for myself, I always like to be like more of a role model for
Yeah,
younglings. So,
yeah. I
do you,
usually try just responding with killing them with kindness. Just kind of going
yeah.
with it, and turning it into a joke or something.
Oh, absolutely. Do you find you get a little bit of that? Like, do you like just kind of set an example for the young kids?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that was the big reason I wanted to be in law enforcement and got a criminal justice degree. Is like I wanted to be able to help people and make people's life, better and whatnot. And I feel like gaining a platform like this, you can do a lot of helpful things and be a role
Mm-hmm.
model to a lot of people who may need a role model, and set a good example for people and kids, and try making the world a better place. And with the platform that I get through the UFC, and as I grow, and hopefully I can help more and more and be a good example and role model to people, and inspire people to be their best.
Yeah, man, that's great to hear. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now kind of going back to you in college. So obviously, you have some degree with your criminal justice and whatnot. So let's say in so many years you retire from the sport. Is that something that you would like to fall back on once you
Uh,
retire?
Possibly. I guess it depends on how my retirement money planning went. What I
Right.
got to live on when I'm done with the sport.
Hmm.
Um, Ideally, I'd like to do whatever I want. If I
Yeah.
don't want to work, and don't work, and not have to have like a serious career, but maybe set up a training facility of my own. Being a coach or something along those lines, where it's a job, you can make money, but it's something that you love, type of thing. So,
Yeah.
um, if I don't know if I would be a police officer unless I absolutely had to,
Right.
try doing something I want to do first. But like I said, that all depends on how the fight game keeps progressing for me and whatnot.
Right. Right. Well, and I mean, like, there's so many opportunities these days. I mean, what's to say in the next 10 years they have more opportunities for fighters
Yeah,
in different
yeah,
jobs, and whether in any organization. I mean, whether it's commentating or possibly judging, if they ever do make that a thing.
yeah.
I mean, would you be open to those things as
Oh
well?
yeah, absolutely. That MMA's given me so much so far, and if I could continue in like the MMA world in any asset, a ref, like judge, or anything like that, I think that would still be awesome because, I love the sport so much. So any type of involvement would be a fun job.
Absolutely. I have one more question for you, and it's okay if you don't want to answer, or you do want to answer because it's your training partner. But what's your prediction with Khabib versus Gaethje?
Oh, definitely going with Gaethje.
Well, I meant sorry, I
How
meant like
how it's
what?
gonna play
How do
out?
you think it's gonna
Yeah,
play out?
I think he's gonna, just like when he fought. Or I'm sorry, hold on a second. I gotta get this thing. Sorry.
Or
Um, I think like in the Tony Ferguson fight, whenever he was coming in on an attack, he was hitting them with big shots and stopping the attack and stopping the takedown, in that same exact sense of hitting him with those big shots and just stuffing it before it gets to that point. And Gaethje has really, well, they're not really under estimated kicks. Everyone knows how good and hard they are, but
hmm
um, he has the best leg kicks in the game, and that's a major factor with someone who wrestles and needs their legs. And if you start killing that calf and they can't move and push off of it, it's a significant change. So I think that'll be a big factor as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that and I think part of it, I know Khabib is one to rush, but if it does kind of get to that kind of wrestling kind of match, do you think Gaethje's wrestling will get to see more of it? Because I mean, we
Yeah,
haven't really seen his wrestling since he's debuted.
yeah. Yeah, it's trust me, I get to train with him every day. I know really well how good of defense and scrambling ability he has, and I think it's something that Khabib isn't going to exactly be used to compared to his former opponents. How well he can scramble and stuff a takedown, and use his wrestling ability in MMA. So I think it'll be a very interesting fight.
Absolutely. Austin, I just wanted to thank you for taking your time for coming on the podcast here.
Yeah, no
You've been
problem.
nothing but a great guest. I'd love to have you on again. Maybe maybe in a year or two and see
Yeah,
where we're at, and
for sure.
look forward to your upcoming fight with Joe.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Austin. You take care. Okay.
You too, man. Have a good day.